the scientific perspective, what are the most dangerous things that might be out there in pet foods that people really need to understand?
Well, there's quite a few, but one of the things, Joey came to me and asked if we can do a DNA test, and I said, Joey, why do you want to do a DNA test?
I was shocked when I heard that. You know, what's he like? Lost friends,
well, he wants to make sure that the beef is beef, the lamb is lamb, the duck is duck, and the quinoa is quinoa. So, and actually, that's a very good question to ask. So I said, Joey, we can do one better. We can do a species test. We can make sure. We can also take a look for something like gluten. We can make sure that the raw materials that we're using are correct. I'm so glad that he brought it up, because there, and I hate to say it, but there is a lot of fraud in the pet food industry. Because of the economics of it, it's easy to make that economic adulteration and the fraud to be able to make an extra buck. And that's not what we're about. We want to do the right thing. So we want to make sure that we catch that material before it comes into our plant, to make sure that we're being honest and have the integrity to make sure that we're using the right protein. So and don't take my word for it. I mean,
believe me, I don't know. I'm gonna.
Who am I?
Hit you hard. Go ahead.
So you can Google like pet food fraud and look at classaction.org, and that's a very interesting website because it does talk an awful lot about fraud.
Give us that website again.
It's classaction.org, and if you go in, you'll search by that pet food fraud. And that's where you'll see a whole list of different companies, different issues that have happened in the last few years that this organization has been pursuing. And you'll see all the fraud that's there.
And so basically, as Joey, and you were saying, this is when the pet food industry started becoming more and more successful financially, it became an investment versus a passion for people.
That's what's happened. And it's just, years ago, I pioneered duck and potato. So it became a very big SKU. So I wanted to see how potatoes are made for pet food. So I went up to Idaho. I'm going through the plant. This is the plant where all the potato chip guys get their potatoes and everything. So I'm going through the plant, and I'm standing in front of this big machine. And you have to get the water out of the potatoes because potatoes are 90% water. So you need the water out. So I'm standing in front of this big machine, and all these potato flakes are on the floor. So the guy's got a squeegee. He squeegees them into a pile, puts them into a bin. And I said, hey, what's going on with that? He goes, well, that's for pet food. I said, how could that be for pet food? One, it's contaminated. It's on the ground. Two, I saw a splinter of wood in it. How can that be for pet food? And he said, you don't have to worry about it. The company we sell it to, they sift it and clean it before it goes to the pet food plants. So in the pet food industry, you could buy that stuff back in those days, cheap. Maybe it was 28 cents. And the real stuff that would go into human grade potatoes would be like 58 cents.
Jeez.
And on a label, it only says potatoes. What do you think many of the pet food guys buy? They buy the cheap stuff. So that's just not how we roll. So that's why we set up the lab, and we know the suppliers that sell us the stuff time after time after time, and we stick with the same suppliers because they have integrity.